turn me up. I like my money like I like my niggas. Green face card, never decline of what I mean. Act up and you gon' make me make a scene. Only time you hear my voice is when they play me on the screen. Got bad habits, I'm not the one you wanna keep. She a trap star, put that lady on a tree. Got her ass so shook, she shaking like an apple tree. Yeah, this life ain't meant for you, but baby girl, it's meant for me. This lifestyle ain't meant for you, it's meant for me. This lifestyle got girlies clocking on my teeth. This lifestyle can't get you far, know what I mean. This lifestyle ain't meant for you, it's meant for me. What it do? This my boo, she from the south. We running man just like these bitches run they mouth. I got the juice, but they still claiming it's a drought. If I say I'm coming through, I'm about to flip the house. That boy crazy, say he tryna have my baby. Hold on, Slim Shady, just like Mariah, drive him crazy. Got him stressed, make him feel it in his chest. Ask him how it feel, just like a bullet with no vest. This lifestyle ain't meant for you, it's meant for me. This lifestyle got girlies clocking on my teeth. This lifestyle can get you far, know what I mean. This lifestyle ain't meant for you, it's meant for me.
Girl Alive and Bros, welcome to Let's Address It. Okay, so this is where the controversy, confusion, and cultural chaos gets handled properly. Baby, I address past and present scandals, common misconceptions and internet myths, wild viral moments, and old drama that still needs resolution. The things people think they understand until we dig deeper. If it's wild, weird, or wrong, baby, we're pulling up the timeline, the document, and the receipts with some grown woman commentary. Because I address it all, you might as well just call me Miss Addie. Let's get into this mess. Listen, we need to talk about your credit, okay? I don't know your business. You know it, so stop and listen for a second. You already know that you need to refinance that car because a 20% interest rate is not cute for nobody. Get out of that bad loan. Get yourself into a better position. Slash your debt in half if your credit score is right. Listen, I used to have a car payment that was $875. All I had to do was get my credit in order, refinance it down, and I ended up paying only $500 a month for what I previously paid $875 a month. That can be you. I have a kit on my website, the Credit Glow Up Kit. It will help you. It gives you all of the templates and the tools that you need in order to fix your credit. You do not have to spend hundreds of dollars a month to let someone con you into thinking that you need that kind of help. Go to my website. It's really easy. It's $5.99. You can download it right away. Fix your credit, okay? Stop being embarrassed when you go to the car dealership. You sitting in there for 10 hours just to get financed because your credit is bad. Let's stop that this year. All right. Welcome back to my Vibers. What is going on? You know, it's kind of early for me. It is 6:48 a.m. over here on the West Coast, which means on the East Coast, it is 9:48 a.m. So you guys are all refreshed, and I'm just going to fake it until I make it, okay? So I am joined with the beautiful Elisha Lee, and she is coming to us as a therapist, as a homegirl, as an advisor of sorts, okay? And her channel's name is Elisha Space. We're going to be dropping the details for that really, really soon. But what we're going to be doing is talking about some of these toxic chicks out here. I'm going to start with some toxic moms, such as Tokyo Toni, which is my favorite toxic mom to talk about, if that makes sense. I cannot stand her. Anyway, how are you, Elisha? Uh-oh. Can you hear us?
I'm doing awesome. How are you guys doing?
Good. So I'm excited to do this with you. And so what I was thinking of was actually, of course, just kind of like breaking down what we know about her and some things. And I've got a slew of videos of her just doing her. And so I was thinking that we would kind of like react and you could give like a professional analysis and I will give my street. What is the what would be the terminology for me? My unprofessional audacity to comment on someone's mental state. All right, let's see who's here. What is going on, Girl Eyes? Okay, we got Denise, we got Blue Sapphire, Team Rich Girl Club. What's going on? Okay, hey, Conscious Moon. Hey, everyone. And hey, everyone that is watching us on Facebook and also watching us over on Elisha Space channel. Okay, make sure you give a thumbs up over there and make sure that you participate in this chat room because, baby, we want the energy. Okay. Yes, Conscious Moon, she is super duper toxic. So let's go ahead and get into it. So what do you know about Tokyo Toni?
Tokyo Toni, I don't even know how to say this without it sounding, to me, she comes off as a very bitter, angry, a woman that is extremely unhealed, and she can't help but pour her own toxicity into other people. I don't think it just starts with her daughter. I think it goes with everyone else. When I was doing research, I didn't see that she had a healthy relationship with anybody, from what I could tell. Now I'm sure because this is I'm sure the way you present yourself in public is different from how you present yourself in private. So maybe she does have something different going on in private, but she just seems like a very unhappy person to me. And hurt people. So what do you do in those situations, especially when it's a parent that just is not happy? Misery loves company. So whenever someone else comes off as being in a more healthier place, Blac Chyna, she was really in a bad place, and it looks like that she's trying to become a better version of herself. You can't say that about her mother.
Oh, absolutely.
And a lot of times when you find yourself going into that space of becoming a better version of yourself, if someone is trying to manipulate you, gaslight you, bring harm to you, doesn't want you to have success, if they've already painted a narrative about you that in the theater of their mind, quoting you, Nyla, in the theater of their mind, if they've already painted that in your head and you're showing by your fruits that you're someone different, then it angers them because you're just you're proving to them that you're not who you said they were. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it becomes, oh, well, I can't do this, I can't do that. And it's like they're losing control of you. So anytime there's that situation of manipulation and control, it's like that person is losing control of you. And then what does that person try to do? They lash out. They try to do whatever they can in order to present you in a certain type of way to the public. They'll go on interviews. They will talk to other family members about you. You know what I'm saying? Like, when other people start seeing you glow up, they really have a problem with that because the reflection falls back on them. So yeah,
So
that's what I think of her overall. I think I don't know enough about her to diagnose her as like narcissistic, but I do think she has narcissistic tendencies as well as some other personality disorders that could really be kind of looked at, but I really think she does.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there might be, of course, I know that you have to follow the guidelines because you are a licensed professional. I am not. I am just someone with a big opinion about a lot of shit. So here's what I see. Okay, I definitely see a lot of narcissistic traits. I see her being a control freak. I see her, like you said, because she can't control her daughter's image. She can't control her daughter's growth. She can't control, how other people view her daughter.
it's like she's spiraling. I also see a lot of what I believe to be histrionic patterns.
Right.
And
Right.
I don't think we talk about histrionic personality disorder enough. I really don't. I know everyone loves to talk about narcissism or sociopaths and stuff like that, but histrionic is something that I classify quite a few people, and I think I'm right, and I'm probably wrong. But like, do you see any of that in Tokyo Toni as well? Maybe some of the traits.
I do see some traits with her within those patterns, especially the controlling and
Mm-hmm.
the attempt to put her in her place.
Yeah.
With narcissistic tendencies, it's like, that person, like when they go into a room, they want all eyes on me, like Tupac, all eyes on me. But not
Yep.
saying Tupac's a narcissist, he's not. I love Tupac, but I'm just
Me too.
saying, it's like all eyes on me, and if the eyes get shifted off of me, then that's a problem. You know what I'm saying? And they want what they want, despite what that person wants, what they want, despite what you want and how it might affect you. You know,
Right. Right.
so
Right.
the histrionic is more, I'm going to punish you. I'm going to bring harm to you. I'm going to put you back in your place because you're
Mm-hmm.
not doing this or that, or because you're not. It's like you're going to fit this narrative that I have painted for you, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
true or not, whether you like it or not. So I do
Mm.
see a blend of the two. I
Mm.
do see a blend of the two.
That
And
makes
that can be
sense.
really
That makes a lot
dangerous.
of sense. That makes a lot of sense because, like, when even I'm gonna stop calling like my people that if I'm gonna stop calling them, I call them all narcissists. But I
Hmm.
think when you just explain histrionic, I think that a lot of it is histrionic because a lot of that is I'm gonna punish you for not being what I said you are. And for and not doing this, you're gonna be what I want you to be. You're gonna move how I want you to move. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna start
Hmm.
calling them histrionics. Okay.
Jocelyn just asked a question. Did you want to? Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So she said, "What did Tokyo do to spark this discussion?" Well, uh, I've just been kind of reviewing some of the personality types that are classified as toxicity. And some of you guys may know I recently wrote a book called The Mammy DSM. And within that book, I literally kind of laid out some of the behaviors, the patterns, and some of the things that we can kind of see and some of us have experienced in certain types of certain archetypes of women. And she's one of them. She actually fits in quite a few places. And the fact that Chyna is definitely, from my opinion, in a relationship with a mother that is not only her competitor, but also her bully. And then there was a day where I was just on social media and she was acting out again recently. And I don't think a lot of people, if you haven't followed closely, or if you just kind of like have short-term memory, they don't realize when she's dragging Chyna or when she's trying to manipulate Chyna. So she sometimes speaks with these undertones of, I've given all I've had to my child, I've done this, and I don't have this or I don't have that. And it just kind of gives Chyna probably said no to some money or didn't let her have something. So because she knows that Chyna doesn't like her acting stupid on social media and embarrassing her and stuff like that. That's her way of like, fanning the flames, like controlling her, making her nervous, making her uncomfortable. Cause, she can't change her lifestyle per se. She can't hurt her bag. She can't take her looks away. She can't do those things, but she does have the ability to make her nervous, make her feel bad. And that's her control mechanism. That's what I think anyway.
Hmm.
So would you agree? Or do you have a
Absolutely.
different? Yeah.
Absolutely. I remember a TikTok that you put out a couple of weeks ago where you
Hmm.
showed you didn't do the TikTok, but you showed the dynamics between Blac Chyna and Toki and Tokyo, and I mean, she was just, if the word rant was a person, that was her. I mean, she was just lashing out at her, like nothing. And here's the thing, like when someone is unhealthy, if someone is not at an unhealthy place and they're raging, nothing you say or do is it's not gonna ever be enough. You guys ever come across that where you're in like in a dynamic with someone and it's just not enough? Like there's
Right.
always that's I really believe that's them, you know, and that becomes exhausting.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start dropping some videos in,
Okay.
and can just go ahead and give our little analysis. So
Okay.
I don't know which one is coming first, but I'll drop this one.
Okay.
Okay. Here we go.
She was spoiled, raised by me. She will not admit it because I'm her sacrifice while I'm
Can you hear that?
Yes, I can.
Okay, okay. Let me rewind. Let me make sure you can hear it. All right.
She was spoiled, raised by me. She will not admit it because I'm her sacrifice while I'm living. I don't ever have to talk to her again because of the disappointment and the disrespect and the lies and who you love and cherish. Because I never heard it yet. Say, in the name of Jesus. Yes. How about a little gospel? But I do see labels coming up. I do see branding popping. Why not? Get them all when you can get them. Just like Zeus. Play the Christian shit.
Okay. So what do we think about that?
Girl. I think that a lot of times, let me say it this way, a lot of times a jealous mom feels entitled. Like they feel like because I raised you, because I sacrificed for you, because I have done these things for you, you owe me. And listen, that is not love. Love is when you do something for someone or they do something for you, that's part of showing an expression of love. But you don't really expect anything back, especially in a parent-child relationship. You know what I'm saying? We
Mm-hmm.
don't we don't really expect when we do for our children, especially when they're really young, we just do from them because they're our children, you know, because they're
Right.
our children. So, like I was saying, she is extremely wounded, and she probably has, I'll say it, probably has some racial trauma there and all those other things, but that does not excuse feeling that entitlement. And let me just kind of share with the audience, you know, you don't owe your parents anything. You know what I'm saying? Like they you show them love, you share them care, you show them to the best that you can respect, but you don't owe them anything. There's no it's not a love is not a transaction.
Right.
Love is not a transaction. So, and that's part of attitude and Tylenol statement about how she provokes everyone and then plays victim. That is part of that abusive abusive dynamic. She's very verbally abusive, and I wouldn't even be surprised if she was physically abusive with Blac Chyna when she was a kid. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I've seen some evidence that she more than likely she was very abusive to China when she's a child. I'm almost certain that she was. I'm not always certain. So what I see
And
about
let me say this, like when you come across that, I wouldn't be comfortable having her watch my children. I wonder if Blac Chyna lets her see the kids because I wouldn't be comfortable doing that.
never, never. I feel
Mhm.
like based on like because you know we only have we're going off of a limited information, right? Only what we see and what they post, which doesn't necessarily give a full picture. So
Right.
just to be fair, what it looks like is because and I think I have a few of these clips in there where Chyna is telling her, okay, so I'm going to let you see your grandchildren on FaceTime tomorrow. And she's, basically cussing Chyna out for saying that. But what I hear from that is I've established some boundaries and we're going to take some steps. And so, no, we're not going to have any in-person visits. You're not going to come and disrupt my peace and disrupt my space. But I'm going to let you see your grandbabies. We're going to talk over FaceTime. We're going to take small steps. So for me, her reaction was just, how, narcissists or, whatever, they don't like boundaries. They don't like you to, basically protect yourself and not just give them carte blanche to do whatever they want. So I felt like she was kind of reacting because of that, on some level. Fuzzy says she flips out because Blac Chyna does not let her see the kids. I don't blame her. There was a video that went viral about 3 months ago where Blac Chyna and her daughter were in the kitchen and they're just doing mom stuff. And the daughter goes, if Tokyo Toni comes, hang up. Or either she said Tokyo Toni was there, just hang up, or something to that effect. And so everybody in the comments dragging Chyna, look how disrespectful your daughter is. And for me, what I heard from that was this: her daughter's old enough to see the behaviors of Tokyo Toni. She didn't like it. She's also seen her hurt her mother, and she knows how embarrassing her grandmother is online. And everybody's in the comments saying, you got to respect your elders. And that I do agree. But we also know that Tokyo has this thing where she believes because she gave birth to Chyna, that she's owed, she's to be worshipped. And that she doesn't have to, show her any respect as an adult, as a mother, as, whatever Chyna's doing or whatever. And I also think it is really toxic when people don't allow children to put up boundaries either, or to, voice, their opinions about toxic situations. Kids, they can't go and have a glass of wine. They can't go do that. So sometimes they do need to vent out or express. And when that girl said, if Tokyo Toni comes, let's just hang up, I didn't view that as disrespect, although I understand it being viewed that way. I viewed that as, my grandmother is embarrassing as shit, and we don't want that on this. So here's a boundary, So yeah.
And also too, clout. Was she trying to get clout?
Yep.
Because I think a lot of times, would we really know Tokyo Toni if it wasn't for Blac Chyna?
No.
And so it's like she feels like she's owed something, like what she said. I feel like I'm owed something. I made you famous. No, you didn't make her famous. She is who she is. She's gotten her accolades, let's call it that, despite, that was her that did that, and in a healthy relationship, you're happy to see a happy, loving, nurturing relationship. You're happy to see that other person do well. You cheer them all on, especially in a parent-child relationship, because you want that child to flourish. You want that child to do well.
Right.
As you were talking, I was thinking about love and how love expands. It doesn't constrict. And anytime you're in a situation where you feel like you're being constricted, or you feel like someone's trying to pull you in, then that's a sign that something's wrong with that relationship. And that's a sign that you have to establish boundaries, because there's never, when it comes to things like love, joy, peace, happiness, there's not lack.
Right.
It just expands. It just grows,
Right. Absolutely. And I like this comment right here. Stars above the Emerald Forest says, Tokyo Toni feels like Chyna's fame is her fame, and that she should reap all the benefits of Chyna's hard work. Absolutely. I dead on. She does. And I also think she's looking at the Kardashians and where there's a cohesive, and let me preface this. I'm not a Kardashian fan at all, right? But I do have the ability to be objective in a conversation and to kind of like have some duality in, in the concepts that we're talking about, right? But when we look at the Kardashians, we already know Kim is a hoe. We know that her mama sold her, out and all this kind of stuff. That's what they did, right? So let me get that out the way so no one has to come, well, I want to hear it. But what we see in the Kardashians is cohesiveness. No matter what, little jacked up stuff that we see a cohesiveness, and we see a mother that was, even though it was shady, she was quite instrumental in her daughters getting put on. Right. And so there's different. Chris was, whatever she was doing, if she was under a table, on her knee, whatever she did what she had to do to put her girls on. And she absolutely gets to, hey, Dr. Carissa, she's reaping the benefits of them being cohesive, right? The one thing that I don't see Chris doing, and it's just because Chris knows how to read the room, right? Even though, we know what she is, she knows how to read the room. Chris isn't out here comparing herself to her daughter. None of them. You never, no matter, even if she does have some sort of, like, if she did have a rivalry with her daughter, all you see is her support. That's the overwhelming. Just like with Tina and Beyonce. Tina's a beautiful woman. Tina's, got talent as well. But when you observe their relationship, you see Tina supporting Beyonce. You see her nurturing her. You see her, content with being in the background so that her daughter could shine.
Same and with Solange. I mean, she's very much team Solange too.
Very much team Solange. And I also think that that's a relationship dynamic that should be explored too, because how like people, make the comparison between Solange and Beyonce, and how Beyonce is the bigger entity, and then they try to basically step on Solange. I think Solange is one of the dopest women ever for multiple reasons, because she's not, or either she or she does not appear to feel less than because of her sister having a brighter star. She is like Solange. You could tell that there's a genuine love and respect for her sister, and she's fine with her sister, being the bigger entity in the room, and Tina, and as well as Tina, right?
And something, I mean, we don't know like the personal stuff. I love that. Well, I know this is off topic, but I love that she defended Beyonce and Jay-Z got his tail whipped. I love that part. But amazing. Yes. So, but the thing too, I would say, is within those dynamics, you don't have someone that is intentionally trying to tear you down, and I don't agree with everything that Chris did. I'm sure Tina probably did some things too. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
But the intent behind it was to help their children get to a better place, right? That's what love and support looks like. Even though the ways it was done wasn't always what we would do or would want to do. The intention behind it was meaning well. And I think that's something that gets missed. Whereas Miss Tokyo Toni, she's like I said, hurt people. All she wants to do is tear her down. She doesn't want her to do well.
She doesn't like it.
She wants to see her demise, and because she's not fitting a narrative of what she's saying. If you listen to some of the things she has said about Tokyo Toni, I'm sorry, about Blac Chyna, she really does not mean her well. So boundaries have to be established. And with kids, if you're always talking bad about my mom, and I love my mom, I mean, that's my mom, if you're always talking, I'm like this as an adult. If you're always talking bad about my mom, I'm going to set some boundaries with you because that's my mom,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So, you know, I understand the whole setting boundaries part, and it's a different, and probably I'm thinking too about um, Blac Chyna's children's fathers too. They probably want some boundaries around that as well, you know, because it's so unhealthy and because she's just putting information out there. So if she's just putting information out there about her, what's to stop her to put information out there about them, whether it be true or not? So,
That's right.
you know, like I was saying, you know, because it doesn't fit that narrative. And that's kind of like, you know, when we have, like, let's say if you guys, right, conscious mood, I'm the same way. Um, when you guys talk about, with the audience, especially when you're talking about your own family members and things like that, we have to watch out for those kinds of things in our own families too. Because birthing a child does not make you a parent.
Thank you.
So with that being said, we kind of have to watch that out too. We have to set our own boundaries as well and make sure that we're being careful around what we bring into that relationship as well. I know you want to show some more things, but I want to I know you want to show some more things, but I want to kind of also touch on some things that you guys can do, or what you can do when you have that type of family dynamic with other people, and what boundaries can look like. You know, that's right, Bella. A dog can't have puppies. You are right about that. So I think one of the things that you can do is realizing and accepting where that person is at. So in Tokyo Toni's situation, where she's at is at a toxic place. She feels entitled. She feels like um she feels like she can say or do anything she wants. She feels like because she feels entitled, she probably feels like she can say anything she wants. And if I don't get my way, I'm going to like say all these negative things and do all these negative things. So ways that you can do it around your situation is be careful with what information you share with that person that is not well. See
Right.
them as sick. The other thing I'll mention, and then after that we can go to the next one. I'll just give a couple each time, if that's okay.
Yeah.
The other thing you can do is release the expectation that that person is going to act like a healthy parent. Let that go. Because if you see them as sick, for instance, if you see someone that has a cold, are you going to move around that person like they're healthy when they have a cold? Most of the time, no. We're going to move away from them a little bit. We're going to make sure they have their cold medicine and stuff, but we're going to we're going to give them their space till they get healed, right? So we have to release the expectation that you should be my mom and let that go. The reason I say that
Wow.
is because in their unhealthiness and their toxicity, they may not have the capability, the skills, or the capacity to be what you need them to be. So, in order to protect yourself, in order to protect your mental health, when you meet them where they're at, it becomes a lot easier when you've released that expectation of how how you choose to communicate with them when it comes to things that have happened around you. So that's the
That
other
makes
thing.
sense. That makes sense. Releasing the expectation. That's a protection. That's an
Hmm.
absolute protection. Because if
Hmm.
there is no expectation, then there should be no disappointment. And
Right.
if they do, meet a standard, then okay, they met a standard. But if they don't, you're safe. You're still protected. You're still okay. So yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. You definitely have to do that sometimes. I wanted to
When
touch on
there's
one.
when there's a standard, you want to make sure the standard becomes a pattern. So just
Right.
because you've done it one time, that is not enough. You would need
Right.
to see it as a pattern, you know.
Right.
Yes. Yes,
Right.
you're gray rocking to protect yourself.
Gray
That
rock.
is very true. Right.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. I was just thinking about how, like, I do believe a lot of her issue is watching the Kardashians, and how everybody, you know, even though Kim is the bigger entity, everybody has a level of celebrity, including the mother, and there's a respect for Kim, for Chris being the, you know, the leader of the coven or whatever. There, you know,
Mhm.
there's a respect there, but I think she did earn it. But also, even thinking about the differences between Chris and Tokyo, right? Imagine if Tokyo had access to the money and the people and the places that Tokyo had, that Chris has. Imagine how messy that would become, how horrible that would be. Just like someone mentioned that Chris just got a facelift, which this is one of the best facelifts I've ever seen. Like they
Mhm.
literally took 30 years off this woman's face.
Mhm.
But yet we don't see all of the histrionics. We don't
Right.
see her, you know, making 100 selfies. If Tokyo gets a new wig, we're going to see 50 videos. You know what I'm saying? Like she, you know what I'm saying? Chris is just kind of like letting it flow or whatever. But she's not, you know, doing the whole, you know, lining herself up with her daughters or whatever. She's just, you know, she's doing her and reaping the benefits of having a successful family.
Mhm.
Absolutely. She said she'd be just like Jackie Christie. Maybe we should do Jackie Christie next.
That would
We
be
should do
cool. I'd like that. Yeah.
Jackie Christie next, because baby, it's a lot going on. A
Mhm.
lot going on. So, exactly. You know what? I forget about that. Tokyo having a famous dad. I
I
forgot.
had forgotten
Often,
about that too. Mhm.
yeah. Because I mean, her antics just like overran everything. You know. So let's
Because what I
go.
was what I was going to say about Chris, and then I'll be quiet. What I was going to say about Chris is too. Chris is accustomed to being connected to well-off, wealthy men who have connections.
Yeah.
So Chris has always had connections.
Mm-hmm.
Chris has always had um, the availability around that. You know what I'm saying? Tokyo mom has the ability. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Tokyo, you know, I'll just
Yeah.
call it Tokyo. She has the ability to had the ability to have those same connections, but in her toxicity, she burned those bridges. So again, it's you know, she kind of sabotaged herself in a lot of ways, you know.
Yep. Indeed, she did. All
Yeah.
right. So I'm going to put another video up.
Wanted to see
And even you could tell that's an act, but go ahead. Mm-hmm.
stand up, lose it all. If you have to, it's materialistic. You can get it back. Don't worry about the shame they're going to try to give you. Don't worry about the blame they're going to try to give you from your own child to the public.
You know what? I think this is the second one. Let me play this other one first.
Okay.
This is one that a lot of people didn't realize she was dragging China in. I don't think a lot of people did, but you tell me what you think. Oh, you guys don't have sound? Oh, okay. I know what happened. I'm sorry. My bad. Oh, I forgot because I'm streaming from this thing and I don't have the settings right. I gotta leave. I can't mute. Okay.
These tears not for me. They for other celebrity ones. And don't have a voice. Who is afraid to speak up. Because they can see what's going on. They can see their child going in the wrong direction. But can't do nothing about it. I was once in that position. And I put everything on the line. I lost everything because of my child. Following her all around while she's filming. I wasn't paying my car notes back then. I remember I just bought that beautiful little white truck. I was psyched, like, I seen her in trouble. I stopped everything I was doing. I didn't care about nothing to. So from that, I lost my home. I lost my cars. I lost everything, but I never said anything. I continue to get losses, but I don't care because it's materialistic and I'm a bad and I can get some more. But I tear for mothers who can't reach their kids that's in Hollywood. I get it. Who kids forgot what their moms and pops had to go through to feed them. To clothe them. I say stand up.
Okay. So let me play the second. Well, we'll go ahead and talk about that because there's another clip as well. But yeah. So what I'm getting from this, and this triggered me, is her daughter probably denied her something or put about a boundary in. And now she's, because she's doing a lot of scrambling lately. I noticed she done started where she'll do a cleaning service. She was offering massages in the front yard. She's going to do this. She's going to do that. Natasha Razor, glam. Go to the wall, ma'am. Go to the wall. Why did I even look down? She is really looking like a sexy gremlin. Like, stop it, girl. Stop. No. So so I feel like she asked Chyna for something and Chyna said no. And she's been, and she's, things are falling apart because she's doing some desperate things for money lately, including having relationships with women that are vulnerable. And I'm just like, and this is in the theater of my mind, right? Because notice she started having the relationships with women, and she's always done that. She's always been a lesbian or bisexual. But when, but then because she's also a holy roller, she's saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Ghost. When someone calls her on it, she, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. But we've seen the evidence already. So I feel like she's getting these vulnerable women who have obvious mental health issues, them women getting checks. Those women are getting checks. You know what I'm saying? Tokyo Toni don't have no boundaries. Those are women that she's messing around with for a reason. I mean, you could tell, but it just looks like she asked Chyna for some money. Maybe Chyna didn't have it, or maybe she didn't give her exactly what she wanted, and she's looking at Chyna doing her thing. Because like that's the thing. You could have what someone considers to be a lot of money, but a lot of responsibilities too. And so sometimes you got to wait for payday. Even if you are someone that makes, multiple six figures, whatever Chyna makes, maybe she like, I can't do it right now. And I could totally see Toni not being okay with that, because again, she feels very entitled to everything that her daughter has. Like, to sit up there and say, I lost everything following my daughter around. What do you mean? Following your daughter around? Now, because we do know, and she's admitted that she discovered her daughter on the pole at 16. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to stop acting like you were the model mom. You know what I mean? So what did you get from that part?
It's retaliation. She's retaliating against Blac Chyna. Something happened. Blac Chyna said no, or she didn't even have to say no. Blac Chyna probably said something to upset her, where she was reclaiming herself, probably. And as a result, this is her way of getting back, getting her lash into her. She can't yell at her. She can't, well, she could yell at her. She probably did. But I'm just saying, she can't beat her. She can't say things like she would wanted to say to her. Like, the things that she used to do, she can't do like she did before. So remember that, Blac Chyna, she's been going through this health journey. You know what I mean? Like, she's been going through, she's been getting herself clean. She's been trying to be a better version of herself.
Yeah.
And whenever you start to do that, Vibers, whenever you start doing that, don't be surprised when other people who are toxic, who don't mean you well, when they start responding in a different type of way. And I think this was a lashing out. It was retaliation, and she was trying to put her back in her place. And even the statements, I follow her around and stuff like that. Let me just say again, love is not a transaction. Love is not a transaction. When it's there, you mean the other person well. You don't look for a payback in exchange. And so the fact that she feels like she's owed something says a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
And
analytical. When they see it as rejection, but we also have to kind of consider. I'm sorry, Nari.
No, go ahead.
Okay. But you also have to consider too that rejection, that perception, is coming from an unhealed place. It's coming from a sick place. So when she was simply, you get awards from parenting, but you don't get, like seeing your kid walk for the first time. That's an award to me. You know what I mean? Because you're seeing something. Seeing your kid graduate from high school or college, seeing your kid do well. When you see them covering a milestone, or you see them being successful, and you're genuinely happy for them. That's what healthy parenting look like. It's not a transaction, and it's reciprocated too, because children, when they first come anyway, they're so pure. They just love you for you. It's one of the most purest relationships. And to see, you could see from her toxicity, you could even see how she angled the camera. Like she was trying to make sure she was seen as this broken person. I think a lot of that was acting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All that, the waterworks and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, for For sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with this too, Fuzzy Spice. She followed her around trying to be like her. She wanted a destiny swap. She did. Because
Yeah.
like, even like with the comment that I just had up there a few minutes ago, by Attitude and Tylenol, where she had a conversation with the game saying that her head game is better than her daughter's. Who sexualizes their daughter in a competition way?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like honestly, like it's just the moment it like your friend is not supposed to do this, right? So just even things in terms, I know like a lot of people, you know, may take exception to this, you know, me saying this is not for everybody. This is me, right? But the moment a woman or anyone crosses a boundary, no matter who they are, they have crossed a boundary. So if you're not going to let your girlfriends, how would you feel if your girlfriend, we're girlfriends, and I tell a man that I give better head than you? What am I doing? I'm comparing you. I'm sexualizing you. I'm trying to diminish you to lift myself up and all this kind of stuff. You're going to recognize that behavior right away. And you're going to be like, let me get away from this hoe. Because look, envy and jealousy to me is one of the, like, it is a very dangerous space to be in, and people are asleep on it. Look, you know how everybody was talking about, you know, do you want to be caught in the woods by a bear or a man? And some women chose the bear. If I got to be caught with a jealous broad in proximity to me and a bear, I'm going to choose the bear. I'm going to choose to be around the bear, because like you don't know the evils of that these women can conceive. And when it's your mother, that's different, because your defenses are going to be down. You're going to be conflicted on how you view it. And it is a complete violation, because the safest place for any daughter should be with her mother. That should be the one person that you can be completely vulnerable with in everything. And when that space is violated, you know, what do you do? So you do sometimes have to recognize that it's your mother, but if she's doing those behaviors, she's also a woman. I don't know if what is your professional take on my
You make a
worldly?
really good point about jealousy and envy, because this is what really this is about. You know, she is clearly jealous of her daughter. Who says I give a better head game than my daughter? How would she even
Right.
know that? I don't even want to know how she would know
How would
that.
you know? Like, I don't think that there's a way that she could know. But even if,
Right.
you know, if there is, why would you say it?
Why would you say that? Right. Why
Right.
would you, you know, and all of those things. Like this is a woman who, imagine someone who just does not mean you well, and they're spending so much mental energy, space, and time thinking of ways of your demise.
Right.
And it's your mother.
Right.
So clearly boundaries have to be placed in order to protect yourself. And in some situations, you even have to go no contact with her. If I were Blac Chyna and these things were happening, I would probably go no contact with her for a while. You know,
Yeah.
because this is so unhealthy that it's getting to a place where, you know, her children are seeing this, other family members are seeing this, you know. And so when you're in that space, you almost have to kind of like go, okay, maybe I need to like completely separate myself from you, you know.
Right.
And because she just does not mean her well. She wants to bring her harm personally. She wants to bring her harm professionally. She wants to bring her harm in whatever way she could. I believe, and maybe I'm wrong, but in the theater of my mind, if Blac Chyna was ever in a situation where she was in the hospital, I don't believe her mother would want to see her healed or in a better place in the hospital, you know. So I kind of think, let me read what Dr. Krista was saying here. It's due to unresolved trauma behind harmful or stressful pregnancies. I agree with you, but I also think a lot of it is jealousy as well. because she does not mean her well. She does not, because I've worked with people who have had past traumas and they still mean their children well. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? It's 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 this is at another place where I really feel like she does not mean her well. And in some cases you have to go no content. So let me
Mhm.
say this about what no contact can look like, especially within the family dynamic. Now, I know that everyone's heard of Tyler Perry and are somewhat, if not familiar with the story of his father, his stepfather. So, long story short, his stepfather was emotionally abusive to him growing up because it came out that he was not his biological father. Okay. And so he treated him differently than the other kids. But his father was a great provider, right? So for Tyler Perry's sake, what he would do is he pretty much went no contact with his father to a great degree. When it got to a place where his health declined and he needed support, other members of the family reached out to him for help because, of course, he has the means, he has the ability to do that. So, Tyler Perry, considering the fact that this is my, this is a man who I consider to be my father, and he did take care of me, and he was a great provider. He made sure that his stepfather was in a really good place. He found him a place where he could go. He found him a place where he would be taken care of, and he made sure he was set up there, but he still had no contact with his father.
Mhm.
So you see
Mhm.
what I mean? So that's what it can look like in those types of situations, so that you're still honoring the parent child relationship, if that's even what you want to do, while at the same time doing what you need to do to honor your peace, you know? So,
That
but
makes
you have to,
sense.
hmm
That makes sense. And then we got Natasha saying Tokyo Toni thinks her daughter swapped her destiny because she achieves everything. That is a thing. I do believe that that might be some of the resentment. Like she sees China doing what she wanted to do, even though. And there was another comment that I saw. I think it was by AK. Let me find it. It was something to the effect of her. Here it is. So OK's point of view says, "Hey y'all, I think that's the problem. Angela no longer wants to be Blac Chyna, and Tokyo Toni doesn't know how to grow with her. She wants to keep her down. So that's the thing too. People like Elisha was saying earlier, sometimes they cannot relate to you at your highest self, right? We talk about this in our manifestation meeting. Sometimes people are going to fall off. They're not going to like you. They're not going to, or not even, it's they're not going to like the energy anymore. It's not going to match anymore. So if we understand frequency and energy and all of that kind of stuff, if their vibe is so low or yours is so high, it's going to create an imbalance. It's going to make them nauseous per se, right? They're not going to be able to take it. They're just not. And she identifies and can handle a trashy version of her daughter, over sexualized, those things that she can identify with, right? As long as China's out here being a little hood booger and being loud and ignorant and walking around here with no clothes on and all this kind of stuff, she can get down with that. She can identify with that. But the elevated China, the one that is glowing up from the inside out, the one that is on her spiritual journey, the one that is hydrated and moisturized and drinking water and trying to be a good mom and stuff like that, that makes that woman understand just how jacked up she is. You know what I mean? Because when China's doing that and she looks at that reflection, it shows her flaws. And that's got to be hard. That's got to be hard for her to see that.
hmm hmm So let
Yeah.
me just put out just a few pointers, not that many, of things you can do when you come across that within your own dynamics of friendship, family, work relationships, all those. Right. Yeah. Conscious of getting her degrees seriously. Right. Um, One of the things you can do is don't let them in on while you are progressing. You know what I'm saying? Don't like a lot of times we want to tell our parents, you know, what or people close to us the things we're working on or the things we're moving towards and share things with them, right? We and a lot of because that person does not mean you well and because that energy we don't want to get blocked with that energy and with that negative energy and things of that nature. A lot of times what we may want to do is let them know about things once we've completed it versus telling them what we're doing in our journey. The other thing is that you'll want to do is you want to be very careful about what you're communicating with them. So I hate to say it like this because it's your mom and things like that, but at the same time, you may want to say things like, "How is everything's going? Everything's going great." You know, just
Yeah.
keep it very generic because remember, think of this person as sick. So think of this person as not well. So if you think of it that way when you're communicating with them, just keep it general because even though there's that relationship of mother daughter, mother father, of mother daughter, when because you have released that expectation that that parent is going to do what that parent is supposed to do, that does not mean it gives you that window and freedom to see them for who they are and to kind of let there be space around that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is
And
yeah,
Dr. Krista, I agree with this. Yeah. Yep. I agree with what she says. So the dynamic plays a vastly different between men and women. That's true. Right. I agree with that completely.
yeah.
Hmm.
And she also said this indicates severe deficits in empathy and theory of mind, the ability to recognize that others have their own thoughts, feelings, and experience separate from her own. Separation is definitely needed.
Yeah,
Definitely. It definitely
absolutely.
is. It definitely
Absolutely.
is. Okay, let me throw in the other part of the video. I think this is it.
Stand up, lose it all. If you have to, it's materialistic. You can get it back. Don't worry about the shame they're going to try to give you. Don't worry about the blame they're going to try to give you from your own child to the public. Do like I did. Keep going. Fuss, argue, fight with these people. It's okay. That's all social media is about anyway. Don't let the devil have your kid, mama. You birthed that.
She's so manipulative.
Girl.
You bled for that. You could have died for that, mama. I watch these young girls. All they do is show. I'm not gonna name no names. You know who he is. Where's their mama? Why is she not saying?
Okay, let me stop for a second. Okay, I just can't. Girl, bye. Okay, this is some high levels of manipulation. So now she's uh positioning herself as the mom who's been there, done that through the ringer because oh my child, has did this and all this kind of stuff. So I'm relating to all the mothers with it. You're not relating to the mothers who have been in the struggle that have had like issues with their children. Because yeah, there are some mothers that have dealt with a child that maybe had addiction or some things or whatever, and they were going through that's not necessarily her story though. The way she's co-opting somebody else's experience and then using it as a tool of manipulation is absolutely crazy. And her saying some of these girls are out here half naked. Ho, you be out here half naked. You be out here half naked. You like stop it. You know, she was just recently cussing out Beyonce's daughter. She was calling Blue Ivy all types of bitches and stuff like this, and it's a jealousy thing, I believe, because again, she's looking at a mother-daughter duo working together, and in a cohesiveness. You know what I'm saying? Like, she just does not like to see this. She just doesn't.
When you see your child, come on, hey. What would it be? Come all of them. Where's their mama? Where's their grandmama? Where's their auntie? Where's a family member? They never show them. They never show cousins. They never show family. They never show this. Why? Because you just might get checked. And when you are rich and famous like that, there's nothing you can do when they block you out. But go on the internet. The internet is a beast. The internet is a beast. But I'm just going to tell you, I am a human being. I have no more tears for me. No, my problem solved. I did what I had to do as a mom. Tormented, lied on by everybody. Those truths was told. Nobody asked me to this day. I just had to go on social media and then appear on a TV show to say, I went in Hollywood to get my daughter out. They've asked me to come to Hollywood long before this. Indeed. Mamas, get your babies out. I got your back.
All right, so what do you have, Doctor? Dr. Carissa is in the chat just going ham. Dr. Carissa says, Tokyo Toni has internalized Black community thinking. And I'm going to tell y'all, look, take it how you want to take it. When your quote unquote elders have the classic Black community mindset, they may end up being a problem with you. And I'm not talking about people having a sense of pride and a sense of community or whatever. But when you have these archaic, old school, I'm saying old school, right? Because people have an issue with calling out bad behaviors and stuff like that happen within future, older generations and stuff like that. And that is part of this thinking where someone, because everybody older than you is not your elder, number one. Okay. I could just be an old fool, right? In order to be somebody's elder, you have to have done something, right? You have to have, mentored, taught, done something. So the Black community does kind of teach that everybody that's older than you is your elder. That's not true. That is not true.
I think she meant BC being Blac Chyna, even though what you said is true. Yeah.
And she, okay, I think she's Black community. Okay, but I'm standing on that though. I'm telling you.
Yeah, that's
I agree with that, but I'm standing on that. That whole, we all we got mentality that makes sense to a certain degree, but that also is used as a tool of manipulation. It really is. She said Tokyo Toni has instrumentalized Blac Chyna, thinking she existing solely to serve her needs rather than being valued for her inherent worth as a human being. Tokyo Toni is the true definition of a narc parent. She does not value that girl at all. She values whatever value monetarily or socially that she can get from her daughter. That's it. And she feels like, oh girl, I pulled you out of my vagina, so you owe me all this stuff.
Right.
Or I nursed you when you was a baby. So my children don't owe me nothing for taking care of them when they were kids.
Mm-hmm.
That is insane to think that your kids owe you something for that. I would hope that they, if anything, they owed me gratitude, but how that looks is really dependent upon them, So any blessing, if my daughter or my son became a millionaire, I know that they would hook their mama up. I do. But do I feel like they have to? Do I feel entitled? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Wouldn't treat them any different if they didn't. But Tokyo really believes that this, her earnings are her earnings. It's insane. Um, you want to go ahead,
No,
Elijah?
we can read Dr. Carissa, and then I'll go ahead because I want
Okay,
her to
she
get her.
says,
I want her to get her pearls too.
yes,
Okay.
we want the doctor to get in. Okay, she says, I focus on the dynamic within the Black family because psychology and psychiatry as a science literally does not. So I deal with this all the time and I'm trying myself to destroy it. Wow.
Girl, go ahead. I love that.
Girl, you need to
Hmm.
take the link. You need to take the link, doctor.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So as
Yeah.
far as my response to this, again, this is retaliation. This is trying to tear her down, and it is trying to get her to do something that she wants her to do. She this is a form of manipulation. It is gaslighting, and she again does not mean her well. And yes, it comes from an unhealthy place. It probably comes from um, Tokyo Toni's own trauma. It comes from Tokyo Toni's own experiences that she has had that she has not been healed from. The difference is, and I'm not trying to look at Tokyo Toni and say even though she's doing terrible things, everything can be restored, everything can be redeemed as long as we're above this earth. Okay. But I'm looking at it from the mother daughter dynamic, from what Angela is receiving, you see. And in a lot of ways, Tokyo Toni created or helped to create Blac Chyna. Tokyo Toni, what we saw from Blac Chyna, remember all of the embellishments she made to her body, all of the things that she was doing, all of that came from her own trauma. And then as she was taking the steps to heal, she was releasing a lot of those things. Remember when she, had the surgery, and it was like a big deal that she to get some of those things out of her body, that she was trying to get to a healthier place.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, in a way, what you were seeing is that dynamic of her getting, as she was getting to a healthier place, Tokyo Toni was losing control of her. She was losing that hold that she had on her. So as she was losing that hold on her, and Blac Chyna was starting to become her own person, she was beginning to recognize who she was. And I always say this: the more you know who you are as a person, the more you get to know you, the more you love you, the more you care about you, the more you show, you discover what's important to you, and you live by those principles around that, the less what someone says or does affects you. You're not trying to please someone or get their approval as much, because the only person that you're trying to get the approval for is you. It's a
Mm.
beautiful place to be, when you start to get to that place. And you can tell that while um, Blac Chyna's self esteem is still something that she's building, right? That she's still growing in, she's not, she's doing a lot better than what she was before. You can tell she's happier now. You can tell she's at a better place.
Yep.
And I think that since Tokyo Toni is not getting the desired result, I think she's doing whatever she can in order to get her back to where she was before. And it's just kind of like, I'll use the analogy of losing weight. And before I go there, yes, I am overweight and I'm working on it. So I can speak to I am
Amen.
gonna speak to this, right? When you're with somebody and you're in the process of trying to lose weight and you guys and you're with that other person, right? And if they're still doing things like maybe they're still eating the ho hos and the cookies and things like that, and you're trying to eat your fruits and vegetables, you might move differently with that person, right? Because you're trying to make some changes with your diet and the cookies and the cupcakes are still tempting for you. So you might move differently. So Blac
Mm-hmm.
Chyna, I think, is moving differently. She's making choices to move differently to get to her healthier place for her to love herself. And I really think that Tokyo Toni's really having a hard time with this. So, yeah. Hey,
Absolutely.
Dr.
Absolutely.
Carissa. Uh-huh.
Hello,
Hey,
how are
doll.
you? Hello, hello.
Great, great. Thanks for joining us. What you got?
You are more than welcome. Thank you for having me. Yeah, these types of subjects, they absolutely give me life. And we won't even go to into that conversation about the struggles and things that Black women deal with, but trying to tear down these stereotypes, even starting from
Hmm.
our hair all the way down to our toes, is just a life mission for me. But I mean, I'll try to
Yeah.
be brief. But in just speaking to the jealousy part of Tokyo Toni, I really do understand. And I agree to a point where just looking at that from the outside in, it would appear that way because that is most frequent.
Hmm.
And even dealing with men, especially when you have the Oedipus complex and just the family dynamic, period. However, when you really deep dive into it and you understand what the word narcissist means
Great.
and what trauma bonding, the clinical terms of all of that, then you see how Tokyo Toni, she really is just a very disturbed woman. I would just say that. And the saddest part about that, the most dangerous part about that is that she doesn't realize it. She's
Right.
lived in this chaos for so long till it's normal. She wouldn't know how to operate outside of it. And she would create her own conflict just to get a heads up on what she perceives in her mind is going to be some bullshit happening coming to her later on. She's going to
Right. Because
create
she
her
thinks this
own
is
BS
normal.
so she can be
Right.
in the middle of it and take control of it, as you were speaking about just a little bit before, so
Hmm.
that the real BS that she likely created won't be in control of her. But either way, going back to that, I don't see it as jealousy. I see it as the instrumentalizing as well as the objectification. It's sad. And as mothers, I'm pretty sure you guys don't, you probably can't fathom that. You couldn't fathom seeing your child as an inanimate object or as an
No.
instrument or tool for your life. But that's how Tokyo Toni moves. And that's why she's able to create those types of videos. So that this objectification, it frequently develops when the parent has significant narcissistic traits or narcissistic personality disorder. Um, Tokyo Toni, in her eyes, Blac Chyna is seen as a narcissistic extension, is what we call it, or something that should reflect well on the parent and provide that narcissistic supply or fulfill the parent's unmet emotional needs. And
Hmm.
then, just as you were just speaking about, when the child inevitably fails to meet these impossible expectations or have the audacity to develop their own identity, the parent experiences narcissistic injury and may respond with rage, rejection, or attempts to control and diminish the child, which is what this lady does every single day and every single time she gets the opportunity to. And so the trauma history and the with Tokyo Toni, the conception through rape that she has I'm sorry, of grape that Tokyo Toni has spoke about before. She said this to Blac Chyna, and that broke my heart. It's one thing which is not correct, not right,
No,
to tell
but
your
what
child that
happened?
they're a mistake. But then you go and you tell that girl that she's a mistake also because she was not wanted because she was a grape baby. That's a lot. That is a lot. And so that only exasperates this dynamic. The the child may, represent not just the trauma itself, which you also spoke about, but a loss of the parent's sense of control and autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
Tokyo Toni may unconsciously, because I don't want to believe, because she would be truly psychotic if she was doing this purposely, but she may unconsciously attempt to regain that control by dominating or devaluing Blac Chyna, treating her as she perhaps was treated earlier on, as an object without agency and or right. And so with this dissociative element between a mother and a daughter, this parent, she's learned to disconnect from her own emotions, her own humanity, as a survival mechanism, making it nearly impossible to recognize or respond to her child's emotional needs. She doesn't
Mm,
even have control over her own. So they operate from a place of emotional numbness that
right.
extends to how they perceive and treat others, not as though things actually are. So this objectification creates a particularly insidious form of, psychological abuse. Really, is what it is, because it has denied Blac Chyna's basic humanity and right to exist as a separate person. She treats this child like she's a ride along. She brought her into this on this earth to exist for her sole purpose, reasoning, and pleasure. And so it's also, when she says those mean things to her to distance her, it's also a form of psychological annihilation that could be more dangerous than even physical abuse, because I can suit you up. Those um I mean those wounds will go away. However, the things that you do to people psychologically don't always go away, and it's harder to get rid of. And so, that physical abuse, because it's more damaging. That psychological annihilation is more damaging than that physical abuse, because it attacks the very core of this child's, or in this case, Blac Chyna's developing sense of self. And so that's what you have seen Blac Chyna go through over the past few years. I imagine that she has gotten into her own therapy and her
Mm-hmm.
own work, and she has done that separation that you spoke about. And so this is what that she's trying to do now. She's trying to develop herself outside of who her mother is, which is actually who that lady groomed her to be. And
Right.
Wow.
so I know. That's it. I'm not gonna
No, you're
say
you know
anymore,
what?
but
You're
yeah,
good.
it's
You're good.
it's a
You know
lot.
what? It is a lot, and there's always room. You know what I'm
Oh
saying? There's always room. You know.
Oh yeah, that was good. What you talking about, girl?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, don't you love the Vibers? I love us so much.
Yes,
Oh yes, definitely,
I'm telling you, nothing like
definitely. It is definitely a dynamic group. Bring a lot to the table. So many, just a really diverse diaspora of women. It's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. They can
Mhm.
find common ground in a lot of things, even the most basic or complex of topics. And I think that says a lot.
Thank you. I love that. I love that
Hmm.
for us. I love that for all of us. It's really something. It's really something special that I'm very proud of. Very much so.
Absolutely,
But
Very
in
much so.
absolutely.
regards to how Angela should move, I actually think she's taking steps to separate so that she's preserving herself and especially trying to protect the kids, you know, because her daughter, that I believe that is Rob's daughter too, right? So like I'm talk about him like I know him, right? So, but Rob Kardashian's, and I can only imagine, would you want your child around somebody like that? You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm just saying,
Or the other grandmother.
right,
Think about, I
Mm,
would be freaking out if
right.
I would be
Because the
freaked out.
Kardashians are very private. They don't like their business out there. Even
Right.
though they come out public, they don't like their business out there like that.
Right. No, but
yeah,
like,
because
yeah,
that's
I definitely, Rob.
no. I was just the secret keeping of what the Kardashians do is
Hmm.
not. And it should never be seen as being better because their stuff been told. It comes out. People always talk about it. It's just that the power that's behind the Kardashian name is not put on center stage.
Mm-hmm.
Rob knows his mom and his sisters. He went out and he got a baby mama just like him. Blac Chyna just presents hers outwardly because she does not have the wealth and the power behind the Kardashian name to safeguard that. And I believe that that is why, Rob has his own issues too, and it's because of the family
Absolutely.
that he's been raised in.
Mm-hmm.
So, a point being, I just don't see him coming out calling the kettle black. I don't even think that he thinks in that mode. A normal person would, but you cannot say that I don't want my child around a Tokyo Toni or a Blac Chyna when he is in a house with a mom and sisters who's like them as well. They just are able to hide theirs with wealth.
Right.
You know, I
Right.
love that you said he went and got a baby mama just like his sisters.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
love that. I don't think I've
He
ever heard
did.
anybody say that, but like that is so on point.
Hmm.
So on point. Mm-mm-mm.
So I think in that last video regarding that, I think it was a lot. I'm not getting what I need, and so I'm going to embarrass, because that's what they do, right?
Hmm.
I'm going to embarrass. I'm going to humiliate. I'm going to try to get you back to where I had you before. It's a way to try to get you back to where I had you before. And so in that situation, especially with that type of a situation, like if you're dealing with something like this, in that type of situation, the best thing to do is to try, and you're trying to protect your peace, it is going to be to pull back from that individual, because anything you say, anything you do, because they're not getting what they need from you or what they think they need from you. Let me say it like that. Because they're not getting what they think they need from you. See, because their sickness to them is normal. I know it sounds crazy, but to
Hmm.
them, that's normal.
Hmm.
So, because they think it's normal and you know it's not normal, until they come to an acknowledgement. I often say that the beginning of breakthrough is acknowledging, is having an acknowledgement that something's not right.
Hmm. Called a
So
crisis of belief. Hmm.
exactly.
Absolutely.
So until they get to that place, one of the best things you can do is even if you establish boundaries, especially in this situation, they're not going to respect your boundaries because they feel entitled to break your boundaries. They feel entitled to not respect. That applies to everybody else except me. I'm sure you guys have know people like that.
Oh
You
my
know,
God,
but
girl.
that
Hmm.
applies to everybody else, but it doesn't apply to me. So one of the
Yes.
best things you can do for you in a lot of ways is to kind of separate yourself from them, even though it's a close and near relationship like what you would have with your mom, or a close and near relationship like you would have with a family. Most of the time it's a family member, but even if it's like a work relationship or something like that, your boundary can be in how you communicate with them. Your boundary can be in um, releasing how you move with them. And I know sometimes it can be a scary thing to do that. But what I found is that, there's such a power in letting go, right? What I have found is that when you do some things to let go, you know what that makes space for? That makes space for the good that's been waiting for you around the corner to come. You know what I'm saying? So I do agree that you should take some time out to maybe grieve that loss of that expectation that you thought that person was supposed to be for you. So I do believe, but try not to sit there, because there's good for you. There's other good for you. Think about times where you may have had a like you needed someone to be a mothering figure for you because your mother was not able to be a mother to you, and how maybe a neighbor or or someone maybe that you work with, or maybe someone came in and they played a mothering role for you and they filled that gap for you to help you get to that other place. It doesn't substitute the fact that you don't have that mother that you were hoping to have, but it does help you get to that other place so that you can have that type of role within your life. You understand where I'm coming from? Because I think
Absolutely.
that's important,
Mhm.
because there's such a power in being able to release and let go. You know, sometimes we can be so hopeful and we want that thing so badly. And I understand that we want that. But sometimes people just don't have the capacity, they just not able to, and
Hmm.
be what you need them to be or what you want them to be. And the
Hmm.
more we get to a place of accepting them and loving them for where they're at, like you can still love them, of course, because that's who they are. You'll always have some type of love for them, but they just can't be what you're thinking they should be. So
So I have
that was
a
the other
question.
piece.
I appreciate that. That was definitely good. I have a question for you both. So I've often thought about this, and of course, I don't have the education that you guys have in the experience. So I'm just going off of what I think. Um, is it a red flag? It's as far as like mother-daughter relationships when the mother, and let me see if I say this the right way, because I know that we all as parents, especially when being a parent of adult children, there's a point where you do have to transition. Okay, is a this is a grown ass man, this is a grown ass woman, right? So the
Mhm.
dynamics of relationship have changed, so you have to view them in a way that is respectful to their stage, right? And so I know that that's I remember going through that, like, oh my God, I wanted to start having more babies when I realized that my kids like didn't need me anymore and stuff like that. So I went through a little thing. But is it a red flag when the you know the established adult child is still treated or viewed by the parent as a child where they can't make the transition? Is that a red flag? And the reason why I ask is because I feel like that is rooted in a lack of respect that's tied to the whole not wanting to accept, personal boundaries and all this kind of stuff. Like, is that a red flag when your parent, you're 95 years old and you're still a child to them? Is that a red flag?
I'll go first, unless Dr. Krista, did you want to go? Or
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. And then I'll
okay.
chime in.
Okay. Yes, it is a red flag. It's a red flag because as mothers, our children tend to go into different transitions, right? So the way that we mother is going to look different when our child is a toddler versus when they're in their tween years, right? It looks different, you know. It's the same thing when they're adults, where maybe they're going to college. Mothering, the act of mothering is going to look different than what it looks like when we are mothering when they are teenagers. You know, that's that's something that we have to work through, that it can. Now I'm going from the analogy, Nyla, that you're talking 95 years old and you're, you
I'm
know,
being,
yeah, 50 something or something
let's
like
just
that.
say 35, 40, whatever.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So that can be a red flag, but it also has to do with letting go and acceptance as well. Like, you need to accept that your child is at another place, and that you have to start to let go and release the fact that your child is at another place, and trust that with the things you poured into your child, that they're going to make those right decisions, right? The other
Mm.
side of that is it goes into entitlement, right? It goes into because the transaction, because love is not a transaction, the things that I did for you, because I did these things for you, you would not be where you are today if it weren't for the is that ringing a bell with any of you guys? If it weren't for the things that I did for you, if I didn't, I fed you, I clothed you, I I made sure you went to the right colleges, I
You're in
did this
forever
and I
debt.
did that. Yes.
Mm.
Oh yes, okay. And that's very common, especially in the Black community. You hear that a lot. You owe me, because that is not healthy, and that is a red flag. So what things can you do around that? Well, first of all is moving in a space of showing within communication. Let me just kind of role model it. And then you guys flare it your special ways. It could be something like, I appreciate all that you have done for me. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. And it springboarded me in order to be able to do this, and this. And I appreciate all of it. With that said, the expectation that you get to have more than what I'm able to give you it's not there. You know, I've done as much. You brought me to a certain place, and then I was able to bring myself to another place, and I'm thankful for that. But there is no owing or no transaction here. You know, if people feel like you owe them, or because of things that is a transaction, that is and even in a romantic relationship, and I think romantic relationships are easier to kind of, anytime that guy's like, you owe me, you know, we all will tell our daughters or our sons, no, that is not the case. You know, it's even more in the parent child relationship. Unless it's something you want to do or you're able to do, there should be no expectation that you're going to do it. Think about um, because after a while it goes into that space of emotional abuse, and it goes into that space of um, trying to bring you harm, trying to tear you down. It can look like, I won't say it's necessarily jealousy, but you do see that there's insecurity. It's like that person thinks to themselves, well, I should have had this because you're experiencing this, or I should have had that because you're experiencing that. I think no, it wasn't Drake's dad, but it was a parent. I don't think it was Drake's dad, but it was one of his parents kind of, you could see the dynamic was different, because his dad kind of like felt like, even though I wasn't there, I'm old because he wouldn't be here if I wasn't there. If I didn't bring him into the world, so I'm owed this. Versus his mom, where his mom was just trying to support him and be there for him. I don't know what you feel about Meghan Markle, but you can see like that's that similar dynamic. Like they feel like they're owed something because they did these things. That love is not a transaction. You can tell that that is from an unhealthy place. So a
Mm.
lot of times you establish your boundaries with that person, and sometimes you'll have to kind of limit how you communicate with them, how you're going to move around them, how you're going to function around them, because it's not that they don't mean you well. I think sometimes it just comes from that place of from their own trauma, from their own hurts. And so sometimes you want to watch how you're even communicating with them, because you don't want to feed that necessarily. You want to provide, you want to let them see you grow, but from a more generic place. I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense, or if even I answered the
Oh,
question,
it makes sense.
but I
It
really
makes
think that when it comes to those kinds of things, we have to be real careful whenever somebody feels like you owe them in a relationship. Now, it's easy in a romantic relationship, because what would we tell our friends are, girl, you need to let him go, because that sounds extremely unhealthy, right? But when
yeah.
it's a parent relationship, it's a little bit different, right? And so the key is within the communication, and you and you doing what you need to do in order to kind of protect yourself, protect your peace around that, and let your actions speak for themselves. Sometimes when it even comes to you owe me this or you owe me that, you don't even have to address what they're saying. They feel like they're owed. You can kind of walk around that carefully through your conversation and how you're talking with them, so that you're not even addressing that,
Yeah.
because there goes the mindset of, what you feed grows and what you starve dies, right? And sometimes even choosing not to even approach that, because you don't owe them anything. You don't owe them anything. Uh, Most of the time with our in a parent child relationship, do we really, like what you were saying, Nyla, about your children? I believe the same thing about my children. I believe one of them, well, all of them. I want to speak life over them. They're all gonna be millionaires. Okay, I'm convinced that one of them may be a millionaire quicker than the other ones. Okay, so I know without a shadow of a doubt he gonna hook me up. Okay, he's gonna hook me up, but I have no expectation that he is going to, I'm not going to put that on him that he's going to take care of me. I just
Yeah.
know because of the dynamic of the relationship that he will take care of me. You follow what I'm saying?
Oh,
So a
absolutely.
lot of times that goes into the insecurity around that as well, of that relationship, like you owe me, because that person feels
And the you
insecure
owe me
around that.
parent is typically the parent that has been, problematic. You owe
Mm-hmm.
me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Or you're so selfish. You are so selfish. You are so selfish because you're not sharing with me. And I believe Tokyo Toni said this too. You are so selfish because you have all this and you're not sharing this with me.
Yeah. Yep. She said that.
Mm.
And Dr. Carissa, what's your take?
So this is very, very layered. So I would say that just in general, the inability to recognize an adult child's autonomy and development represents a very significant psychological dysfunction.
Hmm.
And the sad part about it is that it intensifies rather than diminishes over time. So what happens is, just from a developmental um, standpoint, or developmental psychological standpoint, healthy parents normally adjust their role as the child matures. So there's this gradual shift normally from protector and decision maker onto advisor and supporter, and so forth and so on. However, when this transition fails to occur, it typically indicates that the parent is meeting their own psychological needs, Tokyo Toni, through their relationship rather than responding to the child's actual developmental stage. And in the field of psychiatry, we actually call that the frozen child phenomenon. And this often serves it serves a few functions in the parent. One, keeping the child psychologically infantilized maintains the parent's sense of control and importance. Just a little snip right here. I'm pretty sure that you all have heard of the case that was here in Missouri. I want to say her name was Rose. I can't remember. I only met her once when they first brought her into the prison before she went out to Chillicothe. But the young lady who her and her boyfriend, they killed her mom, well, unalived her mother. Um, she ended up having all of these GoFundMe's and got a home built and everything, saying that this child had even had surgeries. The baby even had surgeries behind this lady, saying that she had all of these disorders and all of these injuries. I have to find, but it was a big case. It made national news. But that is where that comes from. But when a child is if the child is always viewed as incompetent or in need of guidance, which is definitely what happened in this case, the parent never actually has to confront their own irrelevance or mortality. They're too busy focused on someone else's. So this dynamic is particularly common in narcissistic parents, that I mentioned before, who require constant validation of their superiority and their importance. So there's often, well, I would say there's also a projection of the parent's own arrested development.
Mhm.
Parents who themselves never fully individualized or achieved psychological maturity themselves may unconsciously, and I say unconsciously because I do hope that these people are not doing these things consciously and deliberately, because that would make them psychotic. So I am speaking from a parent who is not truly from a place from where a parent is not truly psychotic. But however, when they do these things, it unconsciously prevents their children from surpassing them developmentally. And that is where the arrested part comes in. So this creates this very weird and twisted form of competition where the parent needs to maintain their position as the grown up or the superior in the relationship. This too is this has a trauma response element to it as well. So if the parent also experienced their own childhood as chaotic or unsafe, they may compulsively attempt to control their adult child's life as a way of managing their own anxiety. A lot of times they recreate situations so that they can go back and respond to it as if they were the person who they wanted to protect them when they were in that position, rather than it actually happening to the child. And they don't realize that they're causing that same grief that they were presented with when they were younger. So the adult child's independence, it triggers something in them. It triggers their parents' abandonment, their past fears, or reminds them of their own helplessness. So they respond again by trying to create by or recreate the dependency relationship. So this dynamic
Wow.
is it becomes particularly toxic when combined with the public humiliation tactics that you just played. The parent may infantilize the adult child in public settings, the videos, undermining their credibility and autonomy in front of others. Everything that child does, Tokyo Toni has found a way to discredit it.
Mhm.
This serves to maintain the power imbalance and prevent the
Mm.
adult child from gaining social support for their independence. If you
Wow.
isolate them and you take away their fans, then in her mind, she thinks that it not only invalidates her own psychotic behavior, but she believes in her mind that if she alienates her, that she's going to come running back to her. So this psychological, impact on the adult child is very profound. They may struggle with imposter syndrome. And let me say this, imposter syndrome is not when someone tries to act like someone else or be an imposter as the word presents. That is not it. Imposter syndrome is when you do have the credentials, when you do have the education, when you do have everything that you're supposed to have to be in the place that you're in, but because you have been doubted and because you have been beat down and because your autonomy has been stolen in so many times or decisions made for you, you don't feel comfortable in your own right to say, I belong here. I I I'm supposed to be here. And so you start to question yourself. To yourself, you become an imposter because you're here. You're in this environment and people invited you here. I could be sitting there and they can read all these accolades and they could say, well, Dr. Say has this long resume and she's here and she's supposed to be here. But if I've gone through these things and I'm sitting there going, well, dang, my childhood was pretty messed up. Who am I to sit here? I don't care if I did go to medical school. Who am I to sit here and tell these people about how or when to do what when I still have these issues with my mom, grandma, auntie, uncle, dog, cousin, whatever? That's what imposter syndrome is. But getting back to the
Gotcha.
point, people the child will struggle, with that imposter syndrome. They're going to have difficulty in making their own decisions. And it's a persistent sense that they need permission to live their own life. Breaking free from this dynamic, it often recognizes, or requires that you recognize that the parent's perception is fundamentally distorted and not at all based in reality. She is going to have to realize that her mom is crazy. She's not mean. Um, and I know a lot of people don't like that word, but an R word, but something is very, very wrong with Tokyo Toni. And when you make that separation from people like this, what I often tell people is that you have to realize that when you have people in your life who do these things to you, you are damaged too. And the goal is to get healthy. It does
Mhm.
not mean that you separate and go sit and say, because I am not as crazy as my mama, then I must be okay. No, it means that you need to recognize what your mother did to you, that it is not okay, and that you are going to be a junior her if you do not get into therapy and take care of your own issues. And then you come back and you rebuild with that person. And that is a lot of what happens in family therapy. I believe that the mistake is made is that people are often isolated. The person who believes is the C word or that something is wrong with them, it's you go to therapy, you get better, you change, and then
Mm.
come back to the same environment. And no,
Right.
it does not work that way. So, in order for her to break free from this psychological dynamic requires courage for one and professional support, not YouTube videos, but professional support. And, as the adult child is, she's essentially having to prevent herself from, like, as you said before, grieving the parent that they never had. It's not about being mad at the one you have, it's grieving the one that you should have had, that you never had. So with that, and keys to get past that is that you have to establish boundaries. People have to understand that there are boundaries and there are limits. No one can cross your boundaries. Only you can change your boundaries. Your boundaries are things that you set for yourself.
Mhm.
You put things out there. It starts with the, limiting information that you share. When you stop, or when the adult child stops discussing personal decisions, relationships, or life choices with that parent, then, they have to in their mind say, or rather than giving it to her mother or whomever, because that comes in that part about the imposter syndrome and the indecisiveness. You sometimes say these things passive aggressively to see if people are going to nod at you or wink at you or possibly give you their approval to validate what you should or should not do. But you have to be strong, you have to be courageous and do the work so that you can start to make statements like, I've made this decision, blah, blah, blah. And that doesn't work for me, blah, 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 without feeling obligated to justify or explain. Boundaries, it includes limiting, visiting frequently, ending phone calls when disrespect occurs or refusing to engage in public confrontations. That is your limit. My boundary is I will not, allow you to humiliate me. And so the limit comes in when she makes a video saying such, 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 and such. And you tell people this. You don't keep these things in your mind. She needs to tell her mom, because I do not want to fight, or because X, Y, and Z is happening in the house, and for my own peace, my own autonomy, for my own growth. When you say things disparaging against me in public, then I am going to disassociate myself from you. Period. She knows that there is not a conversation behind it, and that is
Right.
that. And so she knows that when Tokyo Toni knows that she will not get that response, then she'll stop doing it. So that becomes where you then start developing your own, internal validation. Adult children in this situation, they have to learn to validate their own experiences and perception, since the parent they consistently undermined their reality, throughout their lives. So this involves recognizing that, Tokyo Toni's point of view of them is distorted and is not at all based in truth. Building a support system of new people, of friends, good people, of not people who are going to yield to that confirmation bias and to your own bullshit, excuse me, but that healthy network of people, your friends, your partners, or chosen family, other families who see and value their authentic self, it's just that is just it's essential in order to counteract those years of the invalidation, because you have to start replacing
Yeah.
those bad memories, those bad situations with new experiences. You have to get professional therapy, particularly approaches that address trauma and attachment issues. They will transform your life. So even I'll just throw some out there like the EMDR, the IFS is the internal family systems, or anything that's trauma focused like DBT and CBT. They
Right.
help process
Mm-hmm.
childhood wounds and develop healthier internal dialogue. So even support groups of children with narcissistic or abusive parents. So all of those things happen. Then also, what I've also seen in this situation is that the adult children have to recognize that if you're searching for autonomy, you have to start with you and build it. You have to, one thing, the most common thing is that you have to ensure complete financial independence. Okay. it you cannot talk about what decisions that your parents are making for you when your parents are paying all of your bills, or you're sitting and laying up and sleeping on your mama couch. You cannot do this. So this is
Right.
going to involve declining financial help. Figure out a way to get it out of the mud yourself. Okay. And because you're also validating everything that that parent has done to you and or said to you when you continue to use their resources for your own livelihood. That's not fair. Not right, and that's not fair. And that is a key red flag. As you went back to the red flags, Nyla, that is a red flag that you are turning into a junior them. Okay. So even when you're struggling, to avoid
Mm.
string attached manipulation, that's what it's called. So you have to go out and get your career skills, get
Ooh,
your education, develop financial literacy, whatever it comes, make your life goal to be an everyday act of self liberation. So, you also have to, again, limit or structure the contact carefully. If ever she picks up the phone to talk to her, because it is important that she also speaks to her granddaughter. Those things can happen in a structured environment. And again, that comes with the boundaries and the limits. Let her know ahead of time. If you say XYZ ahead of my child, I'm hanging up the phone. And that's it. There is no conversation about it because she already knows what the expectation is, and then the consequence behind her not following it. There is no conversation. As Nene Leak said, I said what I said. Okay. And if you move from, and it's not about being evil, it's not about being harmful, because you don't have to talk to your parents crazy. I do not believe in that. But that's about setting the boundaries, and the limits. And that's actually, you can also use a technique. It's called the gray rock um, communication skill, where you're nice to people, but you limit your conversation in that you're polite, but boring and very unresponsive to the trauma. Yeah, it's raining here,
I'm a
y'all, so that's the noise
professional.
you're hearing.
That is my
And then
superpower. That is my superpower. I can
right,
rate,
it's very
baby. I can do
effective. It is very, because it is so funny. I remember when I was in medical school and I was doing my clinicals, I actually had this CO. He started calling me Dora the Explorer, because I would sit there and people would just say all of these things, and I knew I just would not engage in it, and I would just blink. I would just sit there, I would just blink. I'm just looking and I'm just blinking. Like Dora, just that child, she just looks at you and she just blinks all day until she's ready to say anything. And I didn't get it, but yeah, that's exactly what it is. But especially when it comes to people who are as chaotic as Tokyo Toni, who like to throw that volatile element in there to bring you back down to their level, you know, agree to only meet in public places. I mean, dull public places. Don't take her to the Emmy Awards so she can show out in front of all of your friends. Take her to Chick-fil-A
absolutely.
somewhere where nobody is going to care. Nobody even knows who she is. She's less likely to create a
I say
scene
take it
there,
to the gas
right?
station. Take it to the gas
And then
station and get some chicken.
right, exactly. And then always have an exit strategy. Always have an exit, and drive separate cars so that you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to
Yeah.
sit just in case something does jump off. You are not sitting there listening to the nonsense. Let her know ahead of time. We're meeting at 10. At 11, I have to get across town because I have this photo shoot. whatever. So you've already told her that this is the amount of time that I have for this conversation. And then if anything comes off, you can throw in this caveat. Okay, well, she could be like, well, it's 10:15. Where are you leaving? Because she said something crazy to you. Well, I forgot I had to get some gas. So let me go get some gas so I can make sure that I get to my appointment. Because again, I have to spend my money to take care of me rather than asking you for yours. And I know that's not the dynamic between
Amen.
them, but I'm just speaking about others. So, it really is only in extreme circumstances or when the behavior is just so destructive that any interaction causes, psychological harm that you have to completely tear apart from that parent. But outside of that, and that is what therapy does, you formulate a plan, you heal, you do the work, and then you come back together because I won't get into it, but I just think that the things that are going on with Tokyo Toni are, intergenerational. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that there is a lot behind it, things that have happened to her, her mom, her mom's mom, whatever the case may be. And it is very, very layered, as I said. And it's gonna cost a lot of work to get this
Hmm.
taken care of and time. This is not something that's gonna happen in 2 or 3 sessions. It's going to be a
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle change.
Yeah,
So,
I can definitely
but
see
I'm sorry,
that.
you guys, I got to go because this rain has thrown a little thing in it. We have to get out to the airport. But thank you for having me up. It was so nice meeting
Safe
you, and
travels. Safe
I
travels. We hope that
thank you,
your traveling experience is great, and we appreciate you coming up.
thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate you guys. Bye, 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 birds.
I just want to add
Uh-oh.
one more thing
All right.
about.
So yeah, Dr. K was definitely.
I was just going to add yeah, she was awesome. But I'm gonna add one thing, and I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry I interrupted you. Is it okay to go? Or should I?
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah, she's pretty awesome. Um, Oversharing. It's very easy because of the parent-child relationship to feel like you have to explain yourself, right? Once you are a whole adult and you have a whole family and you have whole bills and you have whole responsibilities, y'all feel me? You have a whole home. The relationship dynamic changes between that parent and that adult child. So you have the freedom, you have the ability to not have to explain yourself for how you move. You don't have to tell them if they're asking you, oh, I noticed you bought a new car. Yeah, you're right. I bought a new car. Yep. Well, how'd you pay for it? You don't have to explain how you took a loan or how you had to move some things around or how you had been blessed with a gift. You don't have to talk about that when in those situations. You don't have to say that. It is such a freedom when you realize that, because remember, when you see that person from that place of not being well, when you see that person when they are dwelling, let's use that word, within their own trauma, then you know how to respond to them accordingly. And because it's the parent child relationship, because when we've been accustomed to, we've been trained to kind of say to them, to be able to explain, mom, dad, can I go to so and so's house, or can I do this or that? Oh, how you gonna get there, or what you gonna do, or you know, we're kind of trained or groomed to do that because of the dynamics of the relationship. But once you reach that place where you are independent and you have established those boundaries, that place of oversharing that you feel like you would have to do, you no longer have to do with that parent. You don't have to do it. And you have to get to a place where you feel comfortable with not doing. And it in this live is not a substitute for getting therapy. I mean, you really have to go, like, watching the YouTube videos and watching this, I think adds to getting the to your education and to your support and helping you. But if you really want to do the deep work, then you do need to get professional help. Like Dr. Pat was saying, you do need to go ahead and you do need to talk to a therapist, a psychologist. You do need to talk to someone in order to do the deep work, because within that deep work, you know what happens? You break those generational curses. You make it so that you're not pouring that into your own kids or into others around you. Because a lot of the times what happens is those dynamics don't just affect the family, they affect everything else: friendships, work partnerships, and everything else. So that's all I was going to add to that. It was that topic of oversharing that she had brought up. That's so important.
Oh no, that's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So listen, this is what we're gonna do, because I do have to run. I want to say thank you so very much. I appreciate it. This was very, very good. Literally had like 20 videos, but we can do that, and in another time and all this kind of stuff. That is perfectly fine. I want to say thank you guys to everyone that came through. Please hit the like. Do not forget to subscribe to Elisha's space. Let's try and get her to by the end of this day. Okay, where are you at right now? As far as subs?
45, I think.
45. Let's get her to 100 today. Okay, let's try and get her to 100 today. She's also streaming right now. We're doing a multi-stream, so she's also streaming the same video over on her channel. Please go over there, subscribe to her channel. Let me make sure the link is in the chat. Gail, could you please put the link again for me, and the link one more time for Elisha Space's channel. Give us a few minutes and tell us exactly what you're doing on your channel and what we can expect to see over there.
Well, I've been doing all kinds of different videos on different topics of mental health around family relationships, as well as anxiety, different topics of trauma, as well as depression. I'm going to be having some guests on there that are going to be speaking about topics about family dynamics and trauma as well. So of those, the kind of conversations of family dynamics is important to you, you can go ahead and listen to that. And then we'll also talk about destiny swapping and what that looks like as well. We're going to talk about different types of things of that nature, around energy and just being connected with people that are feeding us in a good way, and how we can further motivate that, within our own mental health. So, yep, I'm excited about the different things I have going on that show. So
awesome. We absolutely are too. And we're going to be doing some more collabs and doing some more stuff. I love to hear the professional opinion. And we definitely got to throw Dr. Carissa in there, because Dr. Carissa come to cook, honey.
Yes, she was.
She was coming to cook, baby. Okay. So, and Fuzzy, thank you so very much. We definitely appreciate you. World continue to miss me, because I cuss. I know that's right. No, that's right, girl. I know that's right. So I'm going to go ahead and close, but I need to definitely shout out my sponsors really quick. Be sure to make sure you guys subscribe to Elisha Space. Let me make sure I get her channel in the chat, and then we can get out of here, and I will be back a little bit later on. I don't know if you can continue after I ended or how that would work, but we would have had to do a redirect in order to do that. Okay. So let me go ahead and put your link in the chat. Okay. Oh, thank you. Gail did it. Let me just pin Gail's comment. And for some reason, it won't let me touch it. Okay. Why is it doing that? Oh, now I'm in your live, not mine anymore. That's why I can't pin it. 1 second. Okay. And I can send you that thumbnail if you want as well. There we go. Okay, perfect. All right. And let's see what we have. CEO, I think substance abuse and childhood affects people into becoming narcissists as adults, sneaking, smoking, and drinking adult beverages and weeds. Could possibly. And thank you guys so much that are already over there. We need to get our girls' watch time up. So definitely, we should have said this at the beginning to have them watch. Oh, I didn't even think about it. We'll do it next time.
Yeah,
We need to get our girls' watch time up. So thank you guys that are over in her chat. So, we're definitely going to be doing a lot on this topic, Ms. J. Definitely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Skater. We will see you next time. I love you very much. I am going to shout out the sponsor, and then we are going to end, and I will see you guys a little bit later. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Experience the ultimate in feminine care with the Sweet Yoni Lavender QG Gel Wash. This soothing, lavender-infused formula ensures freshness and comfort all day, elevating your hygiene routine. Click the link and shop now.
This product is so important because not only is it produced with care, but it actually has proven results. There have been over 10,000 units of this sold. The company name is sharebutters.com, and this was developed with love by a woman who simply wanted to help her beautiful daughter as she recovered from the devastating effects of cancer, chemo, and radiation burn, and has helped many others with fading stretch marks, eczema, and many other skin issues. Check out the website as it has tons of other valuable products. Check it out. There will be a link and a discount code pinned in the comments section of this video.
All right. I just want to say thank you again, and I will see you on the next video. Bye, vibers.
Turn me up, I like my money like I like my niggas. Green face card, never decline of what I mean. Act up and you gon' make me make a scene. Only time you hear my voice is when they play me on the screen. Got bad habits, I'm not the one you wanna keep. She a trap star, put that lady on a tree. Got her ass so shook, she shaking like an apple tree. Yeah, this life ain't meant for you, but baby girl, it's meant for me. This lifestyle ain't meant for you, it's meant for me. This lifestyle got girlies clocking on my teeth. This lifestyle can get you far, know what I mean. This lifestyle ain't meant for you, it's meant for me. What it do? This my boo, she from the south. We running man just like these bitches run they mouth. I got the juice, but they still claim it, it's a drought. If I say I'm coming through, I'm about to flip the house. That boy crazy, say he tryna have my baby. Hold on, Slim Shady, just like Mariah, drive him crazy. Got him stressed, make him feel it in his chest. Ask him how it feel, just like a bullet with no vest. This lifestyle ain't meant for you, it's meant for me. This lifestyle got girlies clocking on my teeth. This lifestyle can get you far, know what I mean. This lifestyle ain't meant for you, it's meant for me.